Tyreek Hill is on the market, and the NFL just felt the shockwave. 8 Pro Bowls. One of the most feared deep threats of a generation. And now, released by the Miami Dolphins in a move that has executives scrambling, fans arguing, and contenders quietly making phone calls behind the scenes. But here's the real question nobody wants to ask out loud. Is this about decline, or is this about desperation from teams who know one piece could change everything? Because make no mistake, even at 31, even after a season-ending injury that limited him to just 4 games in 2025, Tyreek Hill is still a problem for defenses. 21 receptions on 29 targets. 265 yards. 1 touchdown. In limited action. That's efficiency. That's gravity. That's the kind of presence that tilts coverage and opens entire playbooks. And now he's free. The Miami Dolphins, coming off a disappointing 7-10 finish and 3rd place in the AFC East behind the Patriots and Bills, are tearing it down and rebuilding it under new leadership. Mike McDaniel is out. Jeff Hafley is in. And with a roster overhaul underway, the Dolphins made a decision that will define their direction for years. They chose to move forward without Tyreek Hill. But what if this wasn't Miami letting go of a declining star? What if this was Miami admitting their window closed? Because the moment Hill hit the market, speculation exploded. The Kansas City Chiefs were instantly named as a natural reunion candidate. The New England Patriots and Buffalo Bills were floated as divisional chaos agents. The Los Angeles Chargers, always hunting offensive firepower, entered the whispers too. And then something else happened. Antonio Brown's ESPN network tweeted just 4 words that lit up the internet. Tyreek Hill to the Steelers. Misspelling aside, the message did exactly what it was designed to do. It forced everyone to imagine it. Tyreek Hill in black and gold. Now pause for a second. The Pittsburgh Steelers, valued at $6.5 billion by Forbes, are not rebuilding. They are recalibrating. In 2025, DK Metcalf was their WR1. They paired him with Adam Thielen in what many believed could be a savvy veteran blend of size and experience. It didn't work. The spacing was inconsistent. The explosiveness was missing. The offense lacked that fear factor. And fear is what Tyreek Hill sells. But here's where this gets fascinating. The Steelers are also rumored to have interest in bringing Aaron Rodgers back to the roster. If that happens, you're talking about a veteran quarterback who thrives on pre-snap reads, timing, and receivers who can separate instantly. You're talking about a player who, even late in his career, understands how to weaponize speed. Rodgers with Hill and Metcalf. That's not just a playoff team. That's a statement. But let's not jump too far ahead. Because there are layers to this story that go deeper than a simple free agent signing. Tyreek Hill is not the same player he was at 25. The explosiveness has dipped slightly. The acceleration isn't quite nuclear. But defensive coordinators still roll coverage his way. Safeties still cheat deep. Corners still panic at the line. And that matters. Kansas City understands that better than anyone. Imagine the storyline. Hill returning to the Chiefs, lining up once again in Andy Reid's offense. A reunion arc that would dominate headlines for months. But would Kansas City really allocate cap space for a player whose role would need to be carefully managed? The Patriots could use a veteran presence, especially after finishing ahead of Miami in the AFC East. But would Bill Belichick, if still architecting that roster philosophy and spirit, gamble on a personality as big as Hill's? Buffalo adding him would be the ultimate power play. Josh Allen with Tyreek Hill stretching the field? That's terrifying. But divisional politics are real. Would Miami really stomach sending him to a direct rival if any sign-and-trade discussions emerged? And then there are the Chargers. Always explosive. Always dangerous. Always one piece short. But Pittsburgh feels different. Pittsburgh feels calculated. The Steelers have built their identity on toughness, defense, and timely offense. Yet in 2025, the offense felt predictable. DK Metcalf commanded attention, but without a true speed demon opposite him, defenses could crowd intermediate zones. Adam Thielen, though experienced, couldn't consistently stretch the field. Hill changes geometry, and geometry changes games. Now here's the curiosity that nobody is addressing. Why would Miami cut him outright instead of exploring trade value? Was the injury more concerning than publicly stated? Was there tension behind closed doors during the coaching transition? Or did Jeff Hafley decide that resetting the culture meant removing the biggest personality in the room? Because culture resets are rarely gentle. The Dolphins at 7-10 were not competitive enough in a division led by rising Patriots momentum and the consistency of Buffalo. A roster overhaul signals long-term thinking, but releasing an 8-time Pro Bowler signals urgency. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh's offense underperformed relative to expectations. Pairing Metcalf with Thielen was meant to balance youth and veteran savvy. Instead, it exposed the lack of vertical speed. Hill doesn't just add speed. He forces coordinators to re-script their coverage packages that if Rodgers returns, the synergy becomes even more intriguing. Rodgers excels with receivers who understand spacing and leverage. Hill has built a career on manipulating angles. Even if the raw speed has dipped, the football IQ hasn't. And let's talk about perception. The moment Hill signs anywhere, that franchise's Super Bowl odds shift. Not drastically, but enough. Enough for analysts to re-rank. Enough for fans to dream. But there's risk. Coming off a season-ending injury that limited him to 4 games, durability questions exist. 21 catches for 265 yards in limited action is productive, but it's a small sample size. Teams will want medical clarity. They'll want assurance that the burst remains. The Steelers, if they pursue him, would need to structure a deal that protects them long-term. Incentives. Snap counts. Performance bonuses. Yet sometimes, championships are won by teams willing to gamble on greatness fading rather than greatness gone. Tyreek Hill may not be nuclear anymore, but he's still radioactive, and that's enough. Now imagine Week 1. Hill in a Steelers uniform lining up against the Ravens. Metcalf on the opposite side. Rodgers under center. The camera cuts to defensive coordinators whispering into headsets that that's theater. But before any of that becomes reality, the decision-makers will weigh one fundamental truth. Does Tyreek Hill elevate us, or does he complicate us? Because talent is undeniable. Fit is negotiable. Timing is everything. The Chiefs' reunion would be poetic. The Patriots' addition would be strategic. The Bills' signing would be ruthless. The Chargers' move would be explosive. But the Steelers' signing, that would be calculated ambition. And here's the twist. Sometimes the teams that win in February are the ones who zig when everyone else zags. Miami zagged by cutting him. Now the league must decide who zigs. Let's open this up. If you're running the Steelers front office, and you know DK Metcalf needs a true compliment, and you're considering bringing Aaron Rodgers back, do you make the call to Tyreek Hill? Or do you worry that the best version of him is already behind us? Drop your take below. Is Hill the missing piece in Pittsburgh, or is this a headline move waiting to backfire? Because one thing is certain. Tyreek Hill isn't done shaping the NFL story that he just forced the next chapter. And somebody is about to write it.